Good morning. Thanks for joining me. I feel I have to set the scene. It may be day 19 of my scale model tugboat build, a scale model of the Banbury Cross tugboat that used to work on the river. That's the River Tees in northeast England in the UK. I feel I have to set the scene. We're in the midst of a pandemic. January the 5th, 2021. Middle of winter here in the UK. New year really should herald new beginnings, but being a keen fisherman, all I try to do at this time of year is get through till spring any way I can. We're well looked after these days in terms of shelter, food and warmth. We're a very privileged society in the UK and similar countries. We don't really suffer as other countries might, or previous generations in our own country. So the task of getting through what seems like an interminably long winter from now till certainly April, and some years even the middle of April, is a challenge, and I take that challenge on by embarking on long-term projects. I served my time as a mechanical fitter in a shipyard, heavy engineering, and then worked at home and abroad in various engineering industries. And during that career I had hobbies, but I didn't have a lot of spare time. As a family man, priorities changed, and again, not a lot of spare time to myself. So projects, when they weren't family orientated, tended to be short-term projects, and I would take a project on for a day. A weekend seemed a long time, never more than that, but now I see the value in actually filling my time with some testing projects. I'm surrounded by them in my living room at present. A river table, something I always wanted to do. A collage poster you can see in the background, something I always promised myself. Making videos, bringing new skills to the fore. I've always been interested in tech, and having 3 sons I had to become tech savvy quite a while ago to motivate them. Writing small booklets on my hobbies, again, projects, producing CD-ROMs back in the early days, writing technical articles for karting websites, having a dabble at painting, radio control plays a big part in my projects. So there's a theme. The theme of most of my projects is that the project has to be satisfying, not too challenging. We can all do without facing too many disappointments. We're surrounded by daily challenges during this current lifestyle. Even health can be a challenge. Those ideas you have when you sat in your chair, do they become a reality when you stand up to make a cup of tea? Well, in my case, it all comes flooding back to me. Exactly what I can and can't do. And being a widower, I'm acutely aware that I have to be self-sufficient. And if I was to go out and walk too far, that would be a problem. So I'm guarded in my approach to some hobbies. If I go to a lake for fishing, I may walk round the lake, chatting to fellow anglers, sharing stories, catches, the one that got away. But it is a circular route around the lake. It can be testing. It's a small lake. To some people it's nothing. But to me it can be a challenge to walk round it. But on other days I've walked round it twice, filming as I've gone. So you can see I do test myself, but I do have to put myself in safety first mode at all times. For instance, I would like to film a local landmark, but it's a 6-mile hike, and try as I may, I can't figure out how to break that down into bite-sized chunks that I could achieve. So that's an issue for the future that I don't know whether I'll solve, but so projects, coming back to them, they test me, but it's not a life-threatening test. I do get heavily involved in projects. Any subject I take on, I do put 100% in. And I don't know whether it's my age, the time of year, any health conditions, or living in a cosseted environment of central heating. But sometimes I just crave to sit back down in my chair and that can be a challenge to fight against that. I've gone through periods of even standing to make a cup of tea, standing at the kettle has been a battle. My subconscious saying, just go and sit down, just go and sit down. So I understand and empathise with people that seek motivation in their lives. I am a great believer in the term use it or lose it. As with muscles, if you don't use them, you do eventually lose them and you get infirm. That's relatively natural onset with age. Some people overcome this quite easily and become fit, keep fit should I say, well into the later years. If you become sedentary, as I have over the years, then it is a bit more of a challenge to do things, but the accomplishment can be massive in your mental well-being. Taking on a project, you might well seek the internet, seek out a forum for fellow project taker-oners. For instance, my latest modelling, a tugboat. I've shared it in quite an active forum where the lads and lasses fly drones. So drones and tugboats wouldn't necessarily go hand in hand, but there's a theme running through any project. People like to see other people achieve, even if it's just to visualise that they might take it on. I have a pal who's found art quite a solace, and he produces amazing stuff, and he's again has sought out peers in the art world online and enjoys the feedback. Projects can be quite solitary, and no matter what anybody says, good or bad, about the progress of your project, there do come those times when you're left to your own devices, whether you move on and do another day on the project, or just take to that armchair with a cup of tea and a ginger biscuit. What do I do on projects? Well, I don't necessarily make computer aided designs, scale drawings. I work from a concept. Once I bought into that concept of trying to create something, I then seek out photos of the actual item if it's a tugboat, but then I wouldn't dream of searching the YouTubes or other internet sites for videos of other people's tugboats, that to me isn't the direction I would take. I might look at them after I've finished a project, but I do like to think that all my ideas are from within and not influenced by other people's models or projects. When I designed my Arduino controlled desktop CNC machine, that was entirely out of a concept in my head, and the finished project changed considerably from the initial concept. And I do accept that evolution, and I like it. It's a warts and all approach. It's not straight to the point, done in 5 minutes, that the youth of today might like to see. But I leave YouTube and the true YouTube influencers, I leave them to make those videos of seemingly impossible tasks achieved in a short space of time. I just work away at long-term projects, a day at a time, a problem at a time, sometimes leaving a problem to work on another area. All through my life I've found that if you have an insurmountable problem, stop, do something else in your life or on the project. Do something else. Leave the insurmountable problem on the back burner. And believe me, your brain is very capable of gnawing away, nibbling away bite-sized chunks of that insurmountable problem, then coming up with solutions. So the next time you approach that seemingly insurmountable problem, you'll have an idea of how to approach it and maybe even solve it. In the past I've had as many as 3 projects on the go at once, moving from one to the other, all requiring different skills, some mental, some hand skills, some new skills, lots of old skills, some requiring the purchase of new tools or equipment, which I love, but I do have to curb my enthusiasm because you just can't. Well, you can, but you shouldn't keep just purchasing more and more tools unless you have a valid reason, and they have to be able to earn the keep on more than one project. I do have a workshop stroke garage full of stuff that comes out year after year and earns its keep. I do have hand tools that I turn to every time I do a project. I do have tools from my youth as an apprentice fitter. and that was back in the 60s. So I've had them a fair while. So projects, there will be hiccups along the way. In this day and age, ordering lots of parts online, you can get almost anything, but you do have to wait, and that can sometimes work against your compulsion to go down a road on a project. Sometimes the waiting can be good because you live with the concept, and that concept may well evolve into different avenues, different approaches. So the waiting can be a pain, but it does spread the load, and when the parts do come, if you're prepared to stop what you were doing and go back to when you ordered the parts and visualize using them, if you can go back to that, it's good mental gymnastics. Now, revisiting parts or doing a part of a project in numerous attempts can seem labour intensive, and it is, but it's never wasted. Parts naturally evolve. Parts will always be based on what you'd like to achieve and what you can achieve with the tools you have at your disposal. I would advise a spreadsheet as you go along if you want to look at what you did when you did it. I also use these videos I produce and upload to YouTube. I use it as a memory jogger, looking back on projects I've done, or even what I visualised at the start of a project. It takes the strain off the old grey matter. I do go through periods of worrying about remembering things. It's a natural age thing, but it can be a concern. So use every trick in the book to take the strain off your brain. Some people make copious notes. I make copious videos. It's the same concept. I use the videos to remind myself where I am in a project, where I was in a project, what I did in a project, the friends I made through the project, the skills I learned, the skills I failed at, the skills that I solved an issue, the unresolved issues that I might solve. For years I worked around Arduino code, putting it off, was always beyond me. I had a need for some Arduino code on the CNC machine, and lo and behold, it turned out to be quite simple, a building block approach, and the old adage of with technology, it either works or it doesn't work. And that was massive, working with Arduinos, building the electronics. When they worked, it was very satisfying. And when they didn't work, you just went back to the code and searched for what you'd got wrong. So, taking on skills, it doesn't have to be a major issue. Just be realistic. Enjoy your projects. Expect bumps in the road. Get as much out of it as you can. And the end product may well be something totally different what you envisaged. For instance, this scale model tugboat. I'd like to eventually sail it on a reservoir with other model boat enthusiasts. Meet and talk with them. Who knows what direction it may take. If this project gets me through to spring, when the weather changes and the big carp start feeding on the top, then I'll have achieved my objective for this winter of 2021. So keep joining me, fellow project enjoyers, and I'll keep churning out the videos. Thanks for watching. Join me again soon for more build days on the scale model tugboat.